Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is going to be a speed paint on my latest illustration. So here's a fun new video format since I tend to forget I'm an artist and you guys have asked me for speed paints in the past, so I hope you guys like this video. It's not my usual content, but I definitely should post more of my drawings. If you have any questions about the materials I'm using, such as my tablet and what software I'm using, I'll have it all linked in the description. Today's video is not really a tutorial, it's more of a walkthrough, but I will be talking about the details of how I made this illustration. This drawing took me about an entire month to do, but if I'm gonna be honest, I took so many breaks in between and I also went on a road trip, so this isn't like the exact amount of time it took if I were just to sit down and do it straight up for a couple days, but this was a really fun illustration to work on. I wanted it to be themed off of the cherry blossom season, specifically matcha themed. Since the spring season has sprung, I've gone to the Japanese Cherry Blossom Festival that was in Balboa Park, and that had really inspired me to want to do something with beautiful greens and pinks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little speed paint I put together, as well as some voiceover. And on that note, this illustration will be available as a print on my shop next month when I reopen. Alright, now that we got all the good stuff out of the way, let's get into this drawing. Okay, so starting off this illustration, I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted it to be matcha themed, and I really wanted the centerpiece to be a matcha parfait. So I went ahead in Photoshop and I whipped up a couple thumbnail pictures until I found a composition that I really liked. I really wanted the perfect matcha green, and I was kind of struggling trying to figure out how I was going to distribute the greens and the pinks in a way that wasn't too overwhelming. I even used this photo as a reference image on what I wanted the color palette to be like, and after I kind of tinkered around with the colors, I feel like I was able to get a pretty good color palette. It's here in the thumbnail stage that I really like to mess with big details like hair and accessories because I don't want to do this when I'm rendering, and the best place to do it I think is the thumbnail sketch so you can get an overall look of what it looks like from far away as well. So at this stage I was really happy with the thumbnail and decided I would just go straight to rendering this piece. When I do a lot of my pieces, I usually just paint directly over the sketch. Although I do really like doing line art pieces, I find this is my favorite way to render because it feels a lot like you're sculpting with clay as you just chip away at the sketch to reveal the detailed drawing. It's a very therapeutic process for me, and I really just love seeing the piece come together. For this piece in particular, I knew I wanted more simple shapes, so I was going to just color block everything and not focus as much on details. I really wanted this to have a simplistic but organic look to it. When it came to the eyes, I had the most fun, but for this piece, I didn't want it to be super detailed on the eyes, and I wanted a more stylized look. And I'm thinking of those signature Astro Boy eyes. I really like that intense cutout you got when it came to the eyes. It looks like a pizza slice directly taken out of their pupils. And the look is just so bubbly. I don't know why we stopped doing it. We used to be a country. A country? So here I'm just cleaning up the sides, and I'm going to start working on the hair piece. When it came to the hair, I also wanted to keep it very simplistic. The most complex thing that this hair has going on is the amount of highlights. And with that, we can see the progress I've made so far on this piece. Most of the face is already rendered. I'm now adding some cool tone shadows in here, and I'm mixing that with a little bit of blue and purple, and then I'm also going to finish cleaning up the areas around her face as well. I'm now just going to continue filling in the gaps here in this painting. I really want to cover up the original sketch as much as possible and just get those really nice, smooth, clean lines, almost like if this piece was done in line art, but it's not. Although I want to keep this piece pretty flat in terms of color, I don't want to add too much dimension, I did want to throw in some lighting on her jawline, and I also wanted to throw in just like some lighting on the curvature of her nose. Although these details aren't really needed, I just feel like it really elevated this piece. And with that, I'm going to start shading and highlighting her hair. I'm going to go and get a deeper green for this. I want it deeper in saturation and in hue, and then I'm just going to put that on the ends of her hair. I also really like rounding out my shadows, so most of the shadows in this are going to have a nice curvature to them. I hope I'm describing that well, but if not, you can see me doing it right here where I'm kind of filling in the shading area, and then I take a little chunk out of it to kind of round out the inside. So this is why I stress the importance of a thumbnail, because about this far into rendering, I realized that her neck was super long and it just looked really abnormally long. Like, no one has a neck this long, so I just lasso tooled the whole thing and fixed it. And it was about here I decided to add the last finishing highlights to her eyes, a nice golden color that I thought really made them sparkle. And about here, I decided it was a good time to start rendering some of the food, and I really wanted the food, like the parfait and the strawberries here, to be very detailed in comparison to this piece. When it came to drawing the food, you're gonna need a good amount of references if you want it to be really realistic, so I had an entire folder just filled with references that I needed for just rendering the food alone. So now that I got the bow piece out of the way, I started to work on the braid when I realized I completely forgot how to draw braids. I used to draw them a lot, but I guess I just completely forgot how I did it for a second, but it's okay. I was able to figure it out and get the braid looking good. I also added some accent hair color in there too. I wanted some of the highlights in the braid just to really bring out that variety. And here's where I started working on the centerpiece of this illustration, which is the matcha parfait. I really wanted this to be very detailed, and I put most of my effort into rendering this matcha parfait. When rendering the whipped cream, I'm going to use the negative space to basically carve out the highlights, which is just the original color underneath, so I can have that very airy, crisp look that whipped cream has. I also used the lasso tool quite a bit just because there were some areas of this parfait that I felt looked a little wonky, but it all looked really good in the long run. So now I'm just going to work on the other food elements like the strawberries and the dango and the matcha ice cream. I'm using a lot of references here, and I'm going to pick and choose what I want in my parfait. It was about here where I realized that my parfait cup looked a little too narrow, so I decided to move things around and enlarge it a little bit just so it looked a little more even on both sides and looked like it took up more space than a toothpick. So here I'm just deepening the shadows on the cream and the ice cream. There are a lot of different textures we're working with when it comes to this parfait, so I'm going to use many different types of brushes for the detailing on this parfait. I'm using a crayon-like brush, and I'm also using a blending brush to kind of achieve the different textures that are apparent on the food. I really liked rendering the fruit on this piece. I love rendering cut strawberries specifically. I find full strawberries kind of hard because there's all these little holes on them, but cut strawberries, that's my jam. When I'm rendering, I work in 3 different tones, so I'm going to do a shadow, a highlight, and then leave the original color as a mid-tone. I really like doing that because I feel like it gives a fully rendered look to any piece you're working on. And for the lower half of the parfait, I'm just looking at my references and mixing a lot of colors here together. I still want green to be the main focus, but I get to put some creams in there, I get to put some pinks, some reds. I want the parfait to look like the drinks are mixing within each other, but it's also still layered. And then going back to my crayon brush, I'm just going to fill in the details of the ice creams and the fruits and the ice inside of the parfait. And I saved my favorite part for last, which is adding the cut strawberries in once again. I really like this placement of these strawberries and strawberry ice cream because I feel like it breaks up the amount of green that's in this parfait. I'm working with a lot of shades of green, so the pink and red look amazing with this color palette. Okay, so now I'm going to render the 3 bows she has on her shirt, which it's definitely not my favorite part, I'll tell you that. I wanted them to also look a little bit like satin bows, so I'm using a very soft brush to blend out the highlights and shadows. And because I'm feeling very lazy at this point, I'm just going to duplicate the bow a couple times and put it in a row, and then I'm just going to add the pink lace detail on the shirt. And we finally can work on the background. I'm so excited we finally got to this part. I am just going to clean up the dripping in the back, and then I'm taking this like polka dotted background from Pinterest as a template so I can make the little circles. And with the background done, I'm just going to take a brown brush and do any fixing on the border and just fixing the lines on the outside of this drawing to make sure everything looks nice and crisp. And then I'm going to do the part I was waiting on the most, which is rendering this frickin' hand. As I finish up the hand, I also want to do my last finishing touches on this piece, like color grading some of the areas I feel look too gray, adding some reflective highlights. I realized I wanted a little more pink in this piece, specifically like a pearlish, cool-toned pink, so I added a pink heart in the background, and I also wanted to add small pink pearls in her hair. And now that I added some of my last-minute details, I'm pretty much done with this piece, like completely done. She's good, like in digital wise she's done, but I kind of wanted to go the extra mile because I always like doing some extra experimentation with my pieces. But I basically print out this piece on paper and then I will take it to my scanner and scan it. When I scanned it, she looked a little bit like this, which I love the look a scanned image gives, but I wasn't really into the bright colors of this. I feel like it was a little too lime-like. So I took this image into Photoshop and overlaid it with the digital piece and kind of mixed and matched what parts I wanted the color and the texture to be shown up in. And for my last little tinkering, I'm going to add a halftone layer on this because I love mixing a halftone layer with a lot of my pieces. And I will keep those little dots on the shadow areas and her blushing area as well. And once I have that little bit of stylization put in, the piece is officially done. This is the final product of my matcha themed drawing and I really like it. I think it looks so good. Alright, let's get some glamour shots of her. No, it's recording. Oh. I just wanted to get a little video. Well, it looks like I finished the drawing. I hope you guys enjoyed this speed paint. It was really fun to put together, and let me know what you guys think, if you'd like to see some more speed paints like this in the future or more in-depth videos as well. The full drawing is up on my Instagram and Twitter if you guys would like to see it, and yeah, don't forget to follow my Instagram, my Twitter, or my TikTok, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Bye everyone.